There is a version of financial responsibility that looks exactly right from the outside, the kind your parents taught you, the kind your school reinforced, the kind that feels virtuous every time you do it. And yet, quietly, mathematically, it is holding millions of people in place while the gap between them and genuine financial security grows wider every single year. That version of responsibility is called saving money. Not spending recklessly, not ignoring your finances, but the simple, disciplined act of putting money aside, watching the number grow, and believing that one day it will be enough. For most people, that belief is the trap. To understand why, you have to step back from the behavior itself and look at the system it operates inside. Money does not exist in a vacuum. Every dollar you save is sitting inside an economy that is constantly in motion. One where prices rise, where asset values compound, where the rules of accumulation are quietly tilted in favor of those who already have significant capital. When you save $1,000 and feel a sense of progress, you are measuring your movement against a fixed point. But the destination is not fixed. It is moving, and in most cases, it is moving faster than you are. This is not a motivational observation. It is a mathematical one. The average savings account in most developed economies offers an interest rate somewhere between 0.5% and 5% annually, depending on the institution and the economic climate. Inflation, over the same long-run periods, has averaged between 2% and 4% per year, and in recent years has spiked far beyond that in many countries. What this means in practical terms is that the real purchasing power of money sitting in a savings account is either barely growing or, in many environments, slowly shrinking. Your balance goes up. Your ability to buy things that matter, a home, financial independence, long-term security, may actually go down relative to what those things cost. The number feels like progress. The reality is closer to running in place. But the deeper problem is not just inflation. Inflation is the visible layer. Beneath it is something more structural, something that operates through the psychology of thresholds, and it explains why the $1,000 mark or $5,000 or even $20,000 tends to function as a ceiling for so many households rather than a launching point. Researchers in behavioral economics have documented extensively that people who reach a savings milestone tend to unconsciously relax their financial vigilance. There is a term for the underlying mechanism: the completion effect. When your brain perceives a goal as achieved, it reduces the internal pressure that was driving the behavior. You saved $1,000. The anxiety quiets, the discipline softens slightly, and the environment, full of expenses, social pressures, unexpected costs, fills that space almost immediately. This is not a character flaw. It is how human cognition manages effort under sustained pressure. Your brain is not designed to maintain emergency-level discipline indefinitely. It needs resolution, and savings milestones feel like resolution even when they are not, even when $1,000 represents less than 1 month of average household expenses in most Western economies. Even when that buffer could be erased by a single car repair, a medical bill, or a few weeks of reduced income. The milestone feels real. The security it represents is largely psychological. Now consider what happens on the other side of the wealth spectrum, and the contrast becomes almost architectural in its clarity. Households with significant capital do not primarily grow their wealth through saving. They grow it through ownership of assets that appreciate, of equity that compounds, of income streams that do not require their direct labor every hour of every day. A person with $500,000 invested in a diversified portfolio earning an average of 7% annually gains $35,000 in a single year without changing their behavior at all. A person saving $200 per month from their paycheck gains $2,400 in that same year, before inflation, before emergencies, before the psychological drag of watching a number grow so slowly that the effort barely feels worth sustaining. The math does not punish the saver for bad choices. It penalizes them simply for operating inside a system where their primary tool, saved cash, compounds far more slowly than the assets they cannot yet afford to own. This is what economists sometimes refer to as the asset threshold problem, and it is one of the least discussed mechanisms behind wealth inequality. It is not primarily about income. Plenty of high-income earners remain financially fragile because they never cross the threshold from saving behavior to ownership behavior. The shift from one to the other is not just financial, it is psychological, systemic, and in many ways invisible to people who were never taught that the two things are fundamentally different activities with fundamentally different mathematical outcomes. The historical record reinforces this in ways that are difficult to dismiss. In the United States, Federal Reserve data consistently shows that the bottom 50% of households by wealth hold the majority of their assets in cash and vehicles, things that depreciate or barely hold value. The top 10% hold the majority of their wealth in equities, real estate, and business ownership, things that historically appreciate. The gap between those two groups has not narrowed over the past 40 years. It has widened not because the bottom half saved less, but because the instruments they were using to save were structurally outpaced by the instruments the top used to grow. What is perhaps most psychologically complex about this trap is that it is reinforced by exactly the language we use to praise financial virtue. Frugality, discipline, delayed gratification. These are real and important qualities. But when applied exclusively to saving cash, without the corresponding knowledge of how capital works, they become a kind of treadmill. You move, you feel the effort, the discipline is genuine, and yet your position relative to the costs of financial independence shifts very little. The trap is not laziness. It is misdirected effort inside a system that rewards a different kind of behavior than the one most people were taught. The exit from this trap is not dramatic. It does not require exceptional income or inherited advantages, though those things certainly accelerate the process. It requires a shift in mental model, from thinking about money as something you accumulate by not spending it, to thinking about money as something you deploy into systems that grow independently of your ongoing labor. Saving is the prerequisite. It generates the capital. But it is not, by itself, the strategy. It is the on-ramp to an entirely different kind of financial behavior, one where the goal is not a larger number in a savings account but a growing set of assets whose returns begin to outpace the cost of your life. The moment that happens, the moment your capital generates more than inflation takes, the mathematics of your financial life begin to change in a way that no amount of disciplined saving alone could ever achieve. The $1,000 you saved is not the problem. The belief that saving it was the destination is. So, where does that leave us? It means we have to stop playing a game whose rules were designed to keep us running in place. Saving that first $1,000 or $5,000 is a massive victory of discipline, but it is a terrible victory of strategy if that's where the journey ends. Money sitting still is money slowly dying. The real shift happens when you stop viewing money as a shield to hide behind and start viewing it as a tool to deploy. You don't build wealth by what you keep. You build wealth by what you own. The goal isn't to look at a high balance in a savings account and feel safe. The goal is to cross that asset threshold, buy back your time, and let the math finally start working for you instead of against you. The $1,000 you saved isn't the problem. The belief that saving it was the destination is. If you are ready to stop just surviving the system and start mastering it, you need to understand the mechanics of real investment. Hit that subscribe button right now. On this channel, we break down the complex realities of finance, wealth creation, and true investment strategy, giving you the deep education you need to move off the savings treadmill and into true financial ownership. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.